Well, welcome back, Whistle Watchers. Congratulations to the Lions with the series win, but wow, what a game of rugby. Absolutely brilliant. One of the best games of rugby I've seen for a long time. Ugo, what a backdrop you've got there. In Sydney, are you?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous night here in Sydney, a stunning backdrop. We've got lots to get into, Nigel, so here's what's coming up. Does diving for a try give you a free pass when it comes to diving over a player? We take a look at Dan Sheehan's try and the clear out. Should the Lions' winning try have been chalked off? All that and more on this week's episode of Whistle Watch.
Right then, Hugo, what a great game of rugby we had on Saturday. Absolutely brilliant. An amazing advert for the game.
It really was. I was fortunate enough to be at the MCG. A record crowd for the British and Irish Lions, over 90,000 fans packed in. Entertainment and drama in the stands was matched by what we saw on the pitch. And the way Australia started the response, I think everyone desperately wanted. It was a fantastic event, a brilliant game. And I firmly believe in elite sport you need moments, and we certainly had a few moments. And the Lions, with that series win, 2-0 up in this series, is absolutely stunning. Right, Nigel, we've got an Emirates fan question coming in. This one's coming from Morgan Richards. It says, Nigel, Finn Russell took a kick off quickly after Aussie's first penalty. It bounced out of play inside the 22. Why is it not a 50-22? Good question.
A 50-22 applies in general play, so it does not apply when it's a kick-off or a restart. So that is the reason. Everything else looks the same for everybody watching, but the key point is restart or kick-off. The 50-22 does not apply, only in open play. So, quite rightly so, it should be a line-out, but Australian throw-in.
Plenty of other talking points. We've got another Emirates fans question in, this time from quite a well-known person, Jamie Roberts, Dr. Jamie Roberts. He says, lots of chat about that ruck and clear out. I'm more intrigued by the law around Sheehan's smart try and its implications. Having seen it allowed at the top of the game, many, including kids, could now emulate a potentially very dangerous act. What are your thoughts on that, Nigel?
This really is a tricky one. And before anybody says, well, Nigel's sitting on the fence here, it's one of these where you're sitting on the fence, and whichever way you decide to get off that fence, you could be correct as long as your reason for it is explained properly. Now, there was a change in the law back in 2022 where they brought in that you could not jump to avoid a tackle because it would be dangerous play. Go back to Blair Murray against Scotland. Same referee, I believe, as well. Quite rightly so, blew up because Blair Murray jumped to avoid a tackle. Now, that's quite easy because it's in the field of play. What we do allow to happen, and you would have done this many times yourself, you go of the tries that you scored, when you run into the corner, you dive to get into the corner. The law allows you to do that. What it also allows, the fact that you would dive in to score the try will also mean that the player is able to defend. So as long as his actions are not deemed to be dangerous or illegal, like shoulder barging or something, he is allowed to tackle you even though that you are airborne, even though anywhere else in the field, he would not be allowed to tackle you if you're airborne. But in the act of scoring, we allow this. So Dan Sheehan is allowed to go airborne to score a try. The tricky bit here is, it's not in the corner like we usually see, it's pretty much in the middle of the field, or middle of the field close to the goal line. So his actions are quite legal. What you need to decide is this, and this is the tricky bit. Does he jump to avoid a tackle first of all, and then landing the other side means that the scoring the try becomes a second afterthought? If you feel Dan Sheehan dives to avoid the tackle, then it will be a penalty. If you think, well, he's going airborne because he's now going to reach and score the try, then it would be okay. Now, the officials, they deem that he was diving to score the try, not diving to avoid the tackle, and therefore that is why the try is allowed.
Some eagle-eyed viewers have got in touch. Andrea Piardi, the referee on Saturday, just talking about a potential block for Jake Gordon getting in the way of Andrew Porter. Do you think that try should have been pulled back, or was it just poor positioning from the ref?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky one this, Ugo, because first of all, if a referee gets in the way, but the ball does not touch the referee, then it would be play on. That's what the law says. Now, if the ball touched the referee, then the referee will blow up and award a scrum to the team in possession. But the ball does not touch the referee. So the law then does not take place or applies here. Now, the key thing here as well, I don't think that action made a difference to the outcome. So that is key as well. But even though the law says that it's play on in this situation, if the ball doesn't touch the referee, you would like to think that the referee would apply common sense. So if the referee got in the way and certainly did affect what is happening next, then common sense should apply and he should blow up and award a scrum to the team in possession. But this is the crucial bit. That's not what it says in law. So the referee would use an interpretation there and blow up. So if the referee blew up, he would say, look, sorry lads, I got in the way. We probably always say, yeah, fair call, he was in the way. But the opposition could quite easily say, well, okay, but in the law it says you play on. So it's a bit of a tricky one. So common sense to apply, but in law, he doesn't need to blow up.
Nigel, we treaded enough water during this Whistle Watch episode. The big talking point from the weekend was that Jack Morgan clear-out, which led to the decisive Hugo Keenan try. On the clear-out, legal, yes or no? What was your read on it?
Yeah, now then, this is the big talking point here right now. There's a couple of things to look at here. If you're going to quote the law, and the law says that players arriving this breakdown must arrive upwards, so they can't go off their feet. But if you look at the Australian player, who is legal, you may debate whether his entry is legal or not, but his actions going for the ball are what we would see normally in a game. So his head is pointing down, he's supporting his body weight, but he's down pretty much close to the ground. Now, when you are going to clear that out, the key thing is here. You must come in to clear him out with your arms wrapped to come in and try and get underneath him or on top of him and drive him away from that situation. Otherwise, you're not able to compete. So if you look how low he is, there is no way to compete that unless you try and go lower and go underneath him. So the actions and the body positionings of the Australian player and the Lions player are very, very similar, although the Lions player is slightly lower because he's got to try and get underneath him. But his arms are out. So he's not entering with the shoulder tuck. He's not coming in now with the arm down, shoulder tuck. So his actions are legal for the clear out. The other key thing here is this, the dynamics of it. Yes, the Australian player, the jackler, gets there split second before the Lions player. Now, if he was there a couple of seconds sooner and the Lions player is coming a couple of seconds late and has time to readjust in what he's trying to do to try and avoid possible contact with around the head or neck area, which is not very clear. But if he has time to readjust and doesn't, then you would be having the conversation of that action is illegal. But it's very dynamic. He's there just a split second later. So everything at the moment is legal. But to answer your question, there is nothing else Jack Morgan can do here. Everything he's doing is legal. The fact he does go to ground after the attempted clear out is pretty much irrelevant because he doesn't come in diving on the ground. He's coming in low to try to remove a player, and then he does and then goes off the feet himself. That is allowed. That we see this type of action pretty much in every game in different areas of the field. But because it is match winning, because it's close to the try line, it gets scrutinized and becomes very technical and scrutinized and replayed. So the officials feel here they have to double check it because it's a match winning opportunity, and also as well because of the actions of the player from Australia, they are triggered in there. Let's check that everything is legal here, and they have. And look, I understand why this splits the room. But for me, and I would say you got pretty much nearly all referees I've spoken to, everyone actually, for us it's quite simple. The Dan Sheehan one is much more 50-50 than this one. I could agree totally with the referee who says, look, I'm disallowing Dan Sheehan because what we already discussed. But in this one, for me, it's a little bit more simpler as a referee to identify there's no foul play. So really, really tricky one, but I felt the match officials got this right.
Really interesting, because I was speaking in a referees conference actually earlier in the year, and the one thing that really stuck with me, and I think it's something that should be deployed in every action for every fan and for every player. I can't disagree with what someone's eyes are telling them. If someone's eyes are seeing head contact, I can't disagree with that. The one thing we all need to get on board with is, can you follow what the referee is telling you? Because if a referee sees X and their explanation fits X, then that's all we can go with. We can debate X, Y, and Z, but keep it respectful. Because my eyes, I think, is seeing something different to Andrea Piardi's. I think there was a number of illegal actions. I thought the Australian flanker who was competing for the ball, we've been told you can't keep, you've got to, your heads can't be lower than your hips. So I think his actions are illegal. So we could say penalty against Australia. I also think Jack Morgan makes contact with Tizzano's neck, actually. That's where I think the point of contact is. And we teach at every level, whether it's from grassroots all the way through to the elite level, we talk about planes taking off rather than planes landing. And I think in this action, Jack Morgan is a plane that's landing. So whilst I'd have given a technical penalty against Australia, we know foul play trumps technical. So I actually think Australia overall should maybe have got the penalty for that.
Yeah, just remember as well now, Ugo, the key thing to remember here as well is it really clear there's contact direct on the head or neck? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But the key thing to remember here, not every contact around the head or neck area is foul play. Sometimes there is a genuine rugby collision, as long as both players have done everything they could. So as I go back to the first point, if Jack Morgan had time to readjust to avoid that contact, then we could be discussing this is foul play. But because it's so dynamic, he's there that split second afterwards, he's got no time now to change or readjust anything, and his actions are always legal. Even though they may be head contact and neck contact, it is not foul play. And if there's no foul play, then it's play on.
I totally get the debates, and I'm sure that will rumble on for a little bit, but I think it's so important when we analyse the game, we should analyse everything if we're going to do it at this microscopical. Because when I look at the game and I watch so much rugby, Australia scored 23 points in 30 minutes, and then they scored 3 points in the final 50. There was loads of errors from the players in attack, in defence, in game management, and all of those things. But I don't see the same level of vitriol towards the players, and I'm not saying they should be. So let's not just focus on one moment and one point. And I know it's a heightened moment in the game because it's the final play of the game, but there's loads of other moments. And as a player and as a group of coaches, they would look at their own actions before they look at anyone else's. But there doesn't seem to be the same level of distribution of analysis when we're looking at the game over 80 minutes, not just the 60 seconds.
Yeah, you're right there, Ugo. And as a referee, when a game is that close, you don't referee those final moments different to the rest of the game, because you still got to be consistent in the way that you've refereed it for the previous 78, 79 minutes. But certainly your focus, your awareness, your work rate goes up another level. You know, when as a player, you know, the Lions could have been possibly thinking about a drop goal maybe, you know. So they're now under huge pressure. Now, Australia are under huge pressure. Let's not risk a jackal here. Let's risk giving a penalty away. Their awareness goes up, and it's no different to the referee as well. You're sort of, the pressure on you in those final moments go huge. But I was watching the game on Saturday, and I thought, to me, the turning point in that game was when Australia were up 23-5. Tom Liner then unfortunately knocked the ball on. The Lions get a scrum, they score from it, and then we have a pretty needless side entry then from the Australian centre a couple of minutes later, gives a needless penalty away in their own half, and then the Lions score. So all of a sudden, instead of being 23-5 up at half-time, they are 23-17 up at half-time. So, you know, as a referee, sometimes you do get frustrated. You're focusing on my decision, which is right, in fact, but all the focus is on me. But, you know, let's have a look at the bigger picture, like you quite rightly said.
Yeah, loads of chat, loads of debate and plenty of opinions. So please let us know yours in the comments. Many big moments in the game, Nigel, and Finn Russell, shock, horror, had a game-changing one when he kicked the ball as close he could to the try line. But the question is, Nigel, did he kick it in front of the mark?
Yeah, he certainly did. It's a little pet hate of mine, Ugo. It happened when I was a refereeing game, but sometimes you don't notice when you sit down and review the game afterwards. You give the penalty, and then the kicker starts his run up from where you give the penalty and then goes a couple of metres before he kicks it. And Finn Russell certainly does that in this situation. So what should have happened here, really, the referee should have called him back, told him to take again from on or behind the mark. Now, would he have got you to touch? He probably would have. Would he have been as close to the try line? Who knows? But yeah, you should be taking the penalty on the mark, not a few metres in front of it.
So that's it for this week's episode of Whistle Watch. Thanks to everyone that's contributed and sent in the Emirates fans' questions. We're in Sydney, the destination of the final test. The series is won, and the Lions will be looking to emulate the Lions of 1927 and guarantee themselves a whitewash. Good luck to everyone. Take care. We'll see you soon.